The Florida Legislature is the two houses that act as the state legislature of the U.S. state of Florida. The Florida Constitution states that the legislative power of the state shall be vested in a legislature of the state of Florida, composed of a Senate and House of Representatives. The legislature is seated at the Florida state capitol in Tallahassee. Both chambers have been under Republican control since 1996. Composed of 160 state legislators, term limited to 8 consecutive years. There is no limit on total number of terms. The state legislature meets beginning in March for a period not to exceed 60 calendar days. Special sessions are called as needed. Its statutes, called chapter laws or generically as slip laws when printed separately, are compiled into the laws of Florida and are called session laws. The Florida statutes are the codified statutory laws of the state. Powers and process. The Florida Legislature is authorized by the Florida Constitution to create and amend the laws of the U.S. state of Florida, subject to the governor's power to veto legislation. To do so, legislators propose legislation in the forms of bills drafted by a non-partisan, professional staff. Successful legislation must undergo committee review, 3 readings on the floor of each house, with appropriate voting majorities as required, and either be signed into law by the governor or enacted through a veto override approved by 2/3 of the membership of each legislative house. The legislature also has the power to propose amendments to the Florida Constitution. The rules for the Florida Legislature are laid out within the Constitution of Florida, and is also prescribed the respective chambers when applicable. Florida has had a total of 6 different state constitutions, signed in 1838, 1861, 1865, 1868, 1885, and 1968. In 2009, legislators filed 2,138 bills for consideration. On average, the legislature has passed about 300 bills into law annually. Earmarks that have not gone through the normal legislative process are known colloquially as turkeys. Quote, in 2010, Florida Tax Watch, a government watchdog organization, counted 41 turkeys, totaling $61 million. Organization membership. The Florida Constitution mandates a bicameral state legislature with an upper house Florida Senate of no more than 40 members and a lower Florida House of Representatives of no more than 120 members. A legislator of either house must be at least 21 years of age, a resident of the district in which he or she will serve, and a resident of Florida for at least 2 years before being qualified to run for election. Due to term limits, state representatives may be elected for up to 4 terms, while state senators can be elected for up to 2 terms. Former members can be elected again after a 2-year break. Both chambers have been under Republican control since 1996. Leadership. The House of Representatives is headed by the Speaker, while the Senate is headed by the President. The House Speaker and Senate President control the assignment of committees and leadership positions, along with control of the agenda in the chambers. The 2 leaders, along with the Governor of Florida, control most of the agenda of state business in Florida. President of the Senate, Andy Gardner. President pro tempore of the Senate, Garrett Richter. Majority Leader of the Senate, Bill Galvano. Minority Leader of the Senate, Arthenia Joyner. Speaker of the House, Steve Crisafulli. Speaker pro tempore of the House, Matt Hudson. Majority Leader of the House, Dana Young. Minority Leader of the House, Mark Pafford. Sessions. The Florida Legislature meets in a 60-day regular session each spring, while sessions in odd-numbered years must begin on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in March. The legislature can by law adjust the schedule for even-numbered years. In recent years, the legislature has opted to start in January so as to allow lawmakers to be home with their families during school spring breaks, and to give more time ahead of the legislative elections in the fall. Legislators start committee activity in September of the year prior to the regular session. This is to promote the bills through committee in time for the official session. On the 14th day following each general election, the legislature meets for an organization session to organize and select officers. Special sessions may be called by the governor, by a joint proclamation of the Senate President and House Speaker, or by a 3/5 vote of all legislators. History. In 2013, the legislature filed about 2,000 bills. About 1,000 of these are member bills. The remainder are bills by committees responsible for certain functions, such as budget,